So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Michael Gove being confident that Article 16 will not be triggered. So based on how the schedule should work, you should have seen a previous video about the Trade Secretary saying that they won't use Article 16 before Christmas. Now you've got Michael Gove saying, well, not now, but you had Michael Gove saying he doesn't think Article 16 will be triggered. So it's interesting that you've got two other cabinet ministers kind of walking back the rhetoric of Frost and Johnson. Johnson saying it would be perfectly legitimate to trigger Article 16, and Frost saying Article 16 is still on the table. So why is it these two cabinet ministers have kind of simmered down tensions? It's very interesting, don't you guys think? So going to the article, the prospects for a deal with the EU over post-Brexit arrangements for Northern Ireland have been raised as Michael Gove said the government was confident it would not need to trigger Article 16, suspending the current deal. The cabinet minister who has special responsibilities for the union suggested there were sufficient signs of progress after 5 weeks of talks. The government would not need to follow through on recent threats. So he's saying that there has been enough kind of movement between both sides to resolve the issues without having to use Article 16, which I have to mention again, it does lead to further talks, and essentially the UK is allowed to suspend certain things, but has to give the EU 1 month's notice, in which the EU can take action depending on what the UK does. That can come in the form of tariffs and whatever else. The cabinet minister who has responsibility, I mentioned that, everyone recognises that the application of the protocol at the moment is causing some disruption to trade and is causing inconvenience at the very least to citizens of Northern Ireland. Let's not forget who voted for the Northern Ireland Protocol. It was you, Michael. It was you. He says, I do believe there is a constructive approach that has been taken by the European Commission, but not by you guys though, we know that for sure. And Frost has signalled that while of course it's always possible that Article 16 may require to be invoked, we're confident that we'll be able to make progress without it. It is understood Gove's optimism is not wholly shared by those more intimately involved with the negotiations, which is quite interesting. Gove is not that involved in these negotiations. However, he's saying he does not think Article 16 will have to be triggered. A very strange statement for Michael Gove to make. So more involved in negotiations which are widely expected to run on past Christmas. But the combative language around previous meetings between the Iceman, the UK's Brexit minister, and the European Commission, Šefčovič, has been dropped as the two chief negotiators talked in Brussels on Friday. You've got, Lord Frost, who was, raising tensions very, very dramatically, and now, you've got stories of a change of tone coming out where things have been simmered down. You've got Michael Gove and the Trade Minister also talking about how, they might not use Article 16, things are going better now. So it's very interesting this has happened. Especially since the EU have offered for a while changes to rules around medicines and changes to SPS and customs rules. They offered that months ago. So it's very interesting that now the UK are like, might not do Article 16. We might actually listen to you guys. Very strange how that sudden kind of change has happened, don't you guys think? In a statement, Frost said while significant gaps remained, there was a potential to generate some momentum in our discussions. Looking forward, the United Kingdom's preference remains to secure a solution based on consensus. Whose consensus? Because the only guys you seem to talk to are unionists. The Commission, in a post-meeting statement, reiterated a call for a reciprocal move by Boris Johnson following the EU's proposal in October to cut out most checks on goods coming from Britain. So, they've had the EU put in these proposals in October, and they had a few more months ago on things like medicines, and it's only kind of more recently we're noticing this change once the Americans got involved. The Commission added that it was essential that the recent change in tone now leads to joint tangible solutions in the framework of the protocol, which is the EU saying to the UK, you need to start moving towards us now. We've offered you as much as we're going to offer. It's time for you to do the same. But the EU did not double down on the claim made just for a fortnight ago that the UK was failing to engage sincerely in the talks, nor did Šefčovič raise publicity the prospect of retaliatory moves should Article 16 be triggered. And it's interesting, he's not really mentioning these things because he himself is trying to simmer down tensions. Both sides reported there had been good progress, so they both briefed the media around these things, in ensuring medicines authorised in Britain would be freely available in Northern Ireland, although there was some frustration on the EU side that agreement on the issue had not yet been found. We now need to press on and get this crucial issue across the line. So they're saying, look, we've offered you this on medicines. You're saying, these are good. So we need to get this one resolved. So essentially just get this one written down and done, the medicines agreement. Frost earlier told reporters that he had been heartened by comments on Thursday night from the Taoiseach, Michael Martin, where there is a will, there is a way, and I think both sides just need to knuckle down and get it resolved. Martin said in an interview with the BBC, but one side has a will to resolve this and the other one doesn't. Asked whether there was any prospect of a compromise solution on the UK's demands that the ECJ lose its role as arbiter of disputes over EU law in Northern Ireland, Frost was conciliatory. He said, "It's not an issue that we have managed to discuss very much so far. We have very different positions," which is true. Frost wants to get rid of the ECJ with regards to rulings around Northern Ireland. Obviously, the EU doesn't, because that's what the ECJ exists for, to deal with stuff based around EU law. He says, but I know the Taoiseach said last night that the EU has serious intent to resolve the difficulties that we're facing. Let's not forget here, one of the difficulties is definitely not the ECJ. The ECJ have not gotten involved so far in this entire thing. Yes, the EU did try to take legal action over the UK's actions around extending grace periods. However, none of that stuff actually went to court because the court cases were suspended. So this point about the ECJ he's making is rubbish. And I think that is a very good thing that we take very seriously. Macron criticised the Commission for failing to defend the interest of its fishers operating in the UK coastal waters, while his maritime minister said Paris would fight for their rights. That's a story we'll talk about another time, depending on how the schedule works. Macron, who faced an election in April, told reporters during a visit to northern France that the UK should fulfil its obligations to its treaty. He claims that there's a further 150 licences for vessels operating in the waters of the UK and Jersey, a Crown dependency. So that's a different story for another day. And we go back to the Northern Ireland Protocol, which is in October, the EU offered to drastically reduce the number of checks on goods coming from Great Britain to Northern Ireland in recognition of the political and economic disruption caused. On Friday, Šefčovič said these measures would create a type of express lane which would substantially facilitate trade between all parties, a win-win situation, a very rare thing in politics and in life. Is a unique and completely new model for how goods can be moved from Great Britain to Northern Ireland, one that would strengthen opportunities for business alike. So Šefčovič and the EU Commissioner are going above and beyond here to try and resolve as many issues as possible. This thing around the ECJ needs to go. Like the Frost's issues around the ECJ, he needs to put them in the bin because that's not going to change. He could be using that as a negotiation tool, but I don't think the EU are going to offer more than they have done now, which is a bold statement to make considering how negotiations work and how they've gone over the last year. The point about fishermen would be interesting because I don't know, because obviously the EU Commission would have to consult with sort of EU member states and leaders of those countries around potential changes to the Northern Ireland Protocol that exists within the means of the Northern Ireland Protocol. So maybe Macron will be like, well, I don't agree with these changes because we have issues around fishing and you guys haven't backed us on this. And on that story, the French fishermen are taking actions into their own hands, as well as potentially the French government, so we'll see what happens there. But the dispute between Britain and France over fishing isn't a dispute over Britain and France, it's a dispute between Britain and the EU over fishing rights. Let's not forget here, France is an EU member. And so the EU Commission really does have to do better in that regard, but we've spoken about that already. So it's interesting, again, Michael Gove and the Trade Minister, Anne-Marie, can't remember her last name, are confident and are saying that Article 16 won't be used, at least for a while, whilst Frost is not saying that. So it does seem like they are disarming Frost for some reason and kind of undermining him to an extent because they're not in charge of negotiations, they're not really involved. That Anne-Marie lady might be because she's our Trade Minister now, but Frost is the Brexit negotiator. He's more involved than anyone else. So I don't know why they've undermined him, but we're going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.